All right, I'm going to try to speed this one up. Part four right here. Let's go. So, coal, a lot of it's cheap. All right, that's the positives of it. Negatives is non-renewable. There's only so much of it we have in this world, but enough for 250 years for estimates. Carbon dioxide, when you burn it, carbon dioxide goes off in the atmosphere, and that's a greenhouse gas. It traps heat. Sulfur dioxide also goes up, and that contributes to acid rain and smog. So it goes off in the air, it's smog, and then when it rains, that smog comes down, and the rain is very acidic, low pH. Mining can mess up land. Look up strip mining. So let's do that real fast. Strip mining. Yeah. All right. See images here. Oh yeah, look at that. That used to be a mountain, by the way. Oh yeah, look what happened to that mountaintop. Oh yeah, it got destroyed. Strip mining, they tend to do it just where they just take the top right off a mountain and just bore down, or they blow it up and then they go in and they sift through and look for that for the coal. So strip mining, nasty. Oil, high energy content. Like when you look at the weight of it to like the power output, hey, pretty darn good. Cheap to drill when found. Carbon dioxide when you do burn it, so that's greenhouse gas. 20 to 50 years supply. All right. So that might be in your lifetime where you actually see it start to really run out. Oil spills, major problem. Oh, the other thing about oil is this, like, look, cars, we can kind of go like electricity, and don't get me wrong, a lot of our electricity you get from burning gas and oil, but airplanes, I just haven't seen a whole lot of really good tech come out. So like we kind of need to save our oil supply, I feel like, for airplanes, maybe even shipping too. Terrorist attacks, all right? That's a major negative on oil. If you look off in the Middle East right now, Yemen and I believe Saudi Arabia, the people in Yemen are attacking like the Saudis, and they're not attacking them like police stations and stuff. No, they're waiting in the middle of the night and then they're going to fire rockets at their oil producing facilities, hit them in the pocket. Um, just don't want that happening here or anywhere else. Natural gas, methane, um, very high energy content found near oil usually. So where you got oil, you got methane, which is called natural gas. Cheap and cleaner than oil plus coal. All right. We got a 70-year supply of it. You know, more than oil, less than coal. Still produces carbon dioxide. So when you turn on the stove and you see the flame, that's that methane. All right. Um, that's actually what's making our electricity so cheap, by the way. Um, Nuclear fission. This is like nuclear energy. Reactor is expensive to build, but after is cheap to produce energy. Maintenance on it can be expensive though too. No greenhouse gases. Hey, kind of hippie, but not really. 80-year supply of uranium. So uranium, we don't have like a huge supply of it, but we don't really use a lot of it either. Hopefully for nuclear, we don't really build any more nuclear weapons in this world. Um, it's expensive to mine. Radioactive waste is very toxic for a very long time. So what you have to do is like once that nuclear power plant's done with that uranium, the radioactive waste, we have to ship it off to a mine. I think it's in Nevada. Um, Push it undermined, bury it, and it's got to stay buried there for thousands of years. Yep, wasted land. Accidents are rare but devastating. Chernobyl, there's only been one of them really. Three Mile Island, I think, was another. But like, you don't want to see more of them than that. Terrorist threat, obviously, like if terrorists can do some damage to an oil refinery, imagine what they do to a nuclear power plant. Next step is nuclear weapons. So once you got nuclear energy, for all those countries that don't have it out there yet, you're not too far away from nuclear weapons and nukes and weapons. Think of that bully you have in high school. Now imagine them as a country. Do you really want them with nukes? I don't. Hydroelectric. These are dams. A lot of energy for a little work. You basically set up a dam and then you just sit back and you're like, yep, it's a hard day's work. Not really. Mixed water reservoirs. That's a positive. So you can do recreation. You can you can put your boat out there. You can like save that water for drinking. It's generally safe. Controls flooding. They don't dams don't break either. And also if you have like this horrendous rainfall, like Hurricane Irene, the dams can release the water and they basically control the massive amounts of water coming down. So they don't have massive flooding for an area. Screws up fishing and fishing. Like if you're a fish and you're spawning upriver, which means you go up there to have sex, fish sex, and reproduce and make fish babies. Yeah, it's hard to do that upriver when you have a dam in your way. Um, it's silting. So right by the dam, all that like when it rains, the runoff, like all the dirt from mountains goes into the rivers. They go from the rivers down the reservoir, and then all that silt goes from the reservoir, which is the water source, and it stops at the dam, right at the bottom. So over time, just this dirt builds up at the right where the dam is. Big problem, big problem. And they have to go in there and clean it out, which is moolah. Water poor peeps downstream, Arizona and Egypt. So the problem is like if you're right here, if this is Africa, right here, I think actually let's take a look here. Let's get a map. Stop doing this super low budget. Africa map. All right. Let's actually do Nile River map with dams. All right, to right here. Yeah, this one works. I'm going to move my face to over here. Um, so if you look right here, Egypt, though, you know, it rains all the way down here and all the way here. And then as it rains, it goes downstream. And then where that Nile River joins the ocean, yay! And there's the delta right there. Really fertile land. Very good for growing stuff like cotton. You'll even have your sheets that are like rich. They'll brag about, oh, these are Egyptian cotton. All right. The problem is like all these other ones, like Ethiopia, has a dam right there. They're like, but buddy, that's our water. All right. We're gonna put a dam right there and stop all that water right there so you don't get any. And you're downstream, so you can't do nothing. All right. I believe there's some other dams down here with like South Sudan and Sudan as well. So they basically kind of starve Egypt on the water supply. And yeah, it's not overly good for Egypt. So let's go back to notes here. Moving this off to the side just a hair. All right, so we talked about dams. Biomass, plenty of animal poop plus plant debris. What biomass is, it's like cow poop, and then they just collect the methane coming out of it. Or you can just do it with dumps. Whenever like you got a landfill, landfills as they degrade put out this like methane natural gas, and what a good dump or landfill will do is will collect it and burn it for energy. Yeah, it still produces greenhouse gases, but at least you're getting something for it. It's cheap. um, Crops can replant, so if you're burning like say trees, um, you know, and just plant debris, like you can replant them. um, Uses food crop land. So look, if you're using biomass and you're just like, okay, we're gonna grow corn, um, you know, it's not as bad for like your food supply because you're basically just using the waste, um, and it still gives off the greenhouse gases. So wood, cheap and local for most of the United States. So if like I have a buddy in Vermont, um, any of the trees that he drops, they base it that aren't like they can't be used for other things. He actually brings them by truck, which takes gasoline, up to a power plant in Burlington, and they burn the trees there for power, which is pretty cool. And then they just regrow trees. So, takes a long time though. It's a low energy to weight though. You're not getting a ton of energy from burning trees because to move a tree takes a lot of energy. They don't weigh a little, they weigh a lot. And so if you're driving the truck there, it uses diesel fuel. And it still produces greenhouse gases, just not as many as coal. So get rid of that. Photovoltaic, which is your solar panels you see on a house. There's an endless supply. It's safe. They're expensive to produce and install. I kind of worry about like there's only so many of those rare earth metals that go into solar panels too, and I wonder how green they are to manufacture. But once they're up, they're green. Um, Maintenance on them, I haven't heard a whole lot of about maintenance, but I suppose so. And you need sunshine. You can't be putting them out where in an area where you're not going to get sunshine. You need south facing if you're in the northern hemisphere. Concentrated solar panels, about the same cost as fossil fuels. So that's actually a positive. Negatives are I've literally never seen one of these by person. Never. Seen all the others. Never seen one of these. High insulation usually only occurs by the equator. That could be why I've never seen it. I've got relatives in Puerto Rico, but never seen one. So this works a lot better, I guess, down near like Arizona, um, places close to the equator, be like the Caribbean, because the angle of sun coming in hits at quite a bit higher angle of insulation, which you should know about from 10th grade, ninth grade. Um, it's a newer technology overall. Wind, little maintenance. In a way, I wish there was a little bit more maintenance on them because it would create some jobs. But yeah, you need a windy area. You need trucks to actually create these roads to the top of mountains. So in a way, you're cutting down trees to build roads just to install windmills, and they're expensive to build. Some think it will kill birds, and have looks ugly and noise. Um, so yeah, like it's you know, you can make up your own opinion on that. I don't really think they're super noisy. Look, most of us live in a city. We hear a lot of things, that aren't windmills. Ugly looks. I've got houses in my neighborhood that look a lot uglier than a windmill. Kills birds? Not really. Um, Tidal barrage. This one here, got to look that one up. Let's look up here. Tidal barrage. Like this. Yeah, let's look up an image right here. Images, pictures worth 1,000 words. So this is what a tidal barrage is. Let me get a good photo. It's one that I like. All right, I'm being too darn picky. We'll just use these here, what we have. So it looks like this bridge across like a river, for lack of a better term, but it's right where the river meets the ocean. So what happens is the tide comes in and then the tide goes out. Speaking of going out, I wonder why my light just went off on this. All right. And there we go. So what happens is the tide goes in, the tide goes out. So pretty much those turbines are always spinning. And when they're always spinning, they're always producing electricity. And then you also have the advantage of right over the top is a bridge. So you can use that for cars, traffic, pedestrians. If you're the sort of person that likes fishing, actually, I don't think fish would really do so good there, or a fishing line. They'd probably yell at you, but hey, it was worth an idea. Um, yeah, so that's what we got with that. Let's go back to notes for a second. Tidal barrage makes a lot of energy, good for islands, especially away from the equator, because they have larger tides. Makes a bridge for traffic. They're expensive to build. Effects on wildlife? Don't know. I mean, if dams create problems for fish, I imagine these would too. Backup sewage, trash. Some places like Mexico comes to mind. They like your raw sewage, you flush the toilet, it goes off into the sewer goes off into the river then takes it to the ocean. um so you imagine this, if it's blocking that getting to the ocean, could get a little stinky. Yep. Waves, this is another one. Wave energy, they basically build like a bunker. Let's go off of this, let's see about wave energy. Wave energy. There we go. Let's go diagram. Hmm. I kind of like this one right here, but I'm also looking for one. Yeah. This one right here. So waves come in, and then what they do is they come up, they force the air out of here because the water rises up, and they spin this turbine. This turbine then powers the generator. Disadvantage is, like, look, if any of you ever been near the ocean, the waves are unpredictable. They can destroy quite a bit of property. So I worry about that with this. Um, really do. So great for islands, small operations. They tend to be more like small right by the coast versus like a big power plant. They're expensive to build. You got to worry about damage with them with the storms. Like if a hurricane comes along, kiss it goodbye. Geothermal, endless supply, expensive to set up, only works in volcanic areas, dangerous underground gases. This is that Iceland stuff. So let's do geothermal energy real fast. Geothermal energy happening. Image like this. Yeah, so what you end up doing is you pump down steam. Let's go. All right. I'm going to try making this like a little better. So you inject cold water down into the earth where the earth is warm, and then like the earth is like comes up as steam. That steam then collects, it turns turbines. Turbines then generate electricity. You send electricity out. That water then comes back in as cooled water. You bring it back down, and the whole process goes over again. This is really good. This is probably the cleanest, safest energy there is. The only problem is you need to be in a volcanic area. So, yep, that's what we got. So, yep, that's all, folks, for that. We'll go on to the next part here in a second.